Hey, it's summer 2025, and I've gotten a number of questions from my YouTube channel about people looking for insurance for their camera equipment. So what I want to do is spend this video just talking about that. Let's get into it. First of all, if you have, $2,500 worth in gear and you want to insure that, probably the easiest way is to do that on your homeowner's policy by calling your agent that you have locally and then taking out what's called a rider. And a rider basically adds, and the term in the insurance industry is schedules your gear by make, model, and serial number. So if you have, say, 7200 28 that's made by a major manufacturer, you'll give them that description and then give them the serial number, and then they literally put that into the policy on the rider. You can add a body, you can add other lenses, whatever. But typically that's going to work. Now, if you're not a homeowner, it's still okay. Let's say you rent an apartment and you still want to do this. Well, you can just do a rider on what's called a renter's policy. And honestly, if you don't have a renter's policy, you probably should have one, because if something happens like an act of God to your apartment, even though somebody else owns it and has insurance, they're not going to pay for the contents that belong to you, like your clothing and your personal effects, your computer, whatever. So a renter's policy is a really good idea. And the renter's policy is really inexpensive, by the way. And then what you do is you do a rider on that with your agent that you get the renter's policy from, and then you add the gear. Now, if you're actually traveling all the time and you have a lot more gear, let's say you're in the $10,000 range, probably what's going to make the most sense for you is what's called a marine policy. And a marine policy is just, I don't know why they call it marine, I guess because you can get on a ship and you go wherever you want. But a marine policy will cover your gear anywhere in the United States. Some of them can be adapted to be also working overseas, like in Europe or something like that. There will be some countries that are completely cut off from insurance, like Haiti right now is not going to be, your gear is not going to be insurable in Haiti. I can almost guarantee you that. The next level up, if you go into beyond $10,000, which unfortunately that's where I'm at, insurance there is probably best purchased by buying first a small business policy. And the small business policy is a really good idea. Again, it's not very expensive. It'll be like $200 a year. But on the small business policy, what you're going to get, which is very important, is the ability to buy liability insurance. So if you have a light stand and light stand falls in a pool and someone gets hurt, that's going to be covered. So if you're actually making a living, even part way making a living with photography, you probably should have a small business policy with a liability added to it. Now, most small business policies come standard with a $1 million liability policy. But I always go to 2 because why not? It's going to cost like an extra $40-50 a month, or excuse me, $40-50 a year to get the extra $1 million, so you may as well. Once you have that small business policy with the liability intact, you can then add a rider again. You can put a rider on it, and then you can schedule your equipment. You just give your agent a list of all the gear you want to have covered, and then you're good to go. Now, the insurance on the gear is going to be way more than the policy is itself, and that's just something you need to be prepared for. And the last thing is that usually the insurance agent will give you a couple of options about how you want to have the gear covered. If it's replacement value, or if it's a value that's based on its depreciation. So if you have a 400-28 that's 20 years old, they're not going to give you $11,000 for that. They're probably going to give you $2,000 or $3,000. So you need to really pay attention and ask the agent good questions about, like, well, if I have a loss, if this gets stolen, what happens? And then they'll tell you exactly what's going on. So I am not an insurance salesman. I don't recommend any particular company, and it wouldn't matter anyway, because not all companies work in all states, so it all depends on where you live and what your needs are. But even if you're a renter, you should have a renter's insurance policy. It's so cheap. You should really look into it. And as a general rule, it's good to shop your insurance every couple of years. So I just did this with our homeowners recently, and I left a company that I'd been with 27 years and went with a different company. And I'm very happy, and I saved like $1,500 a year on our homeowners policy. So that was a big win. So anyway, I hope this helps you. It may generate a lot more questions than I can answer, but ask them anyway. If you have comments about insurance companies you like to recommend, go ahead and do that in the comments below. And other people can sort of maybe learn from your experience, and just let them know where you live. Because like if you're in Southern California versus Michigan, it's not going to be the same probably. So thanks so much for watching. I hope this is helpful. Have a great summer.